in live debates because it's like more in person, real. You can humanize people more because you're engaging in direct conversation. That's at least how I view it. But like, I think that we should engage in other.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. I think there's definitely a space for debating for sure. I'm not discounting that at all. I'm just saying that it's good to diversify your content as well. On top of that, for sustainability in general, and also on top of that, to create a broader community that has more interest, because debates do sometimes have a tendency to just like narrow your focus a little too much. That's all I'm saying. But
I agree with that.
You guys are doing great. Don't get me wrong. You guys are killing it.
Yeah. I guess the way I look at it is, like the only reason like I now have this career where I do like debates for 4 hours a day was because like 2.5 years ago I decided to load up TikTok at 3 a.m. and join some random person's live and try to convince them that they were wrong and I was right. And then it just kind of like snowballed into what it is now. And kind of like what Parker said, I think that if we want to build this literal fucking machine to get as many people as possible to be more and more progressive, right, and less bigoted, less on the right, further to the left, it requires a very multifaceted approach with a functioning ecosystem of different people that are doing different things. And like when I've had people come up on my live before and be like, "Oh, Dean, you suck. You're just a rage baiter. You do reactionary content that does no good." I guess like on one hand, it's like I should do more for interests to society as well as self-interests. But then on the other hand, it's like, I'm good at this. I'm going to focus on what I'm good at. And there's other individuals that will focus on what they're good at. But, hopefully, I mean, if this turns into something long-term, I'll be good at multiple things, Yeah.
Look, I'm dog shit at gaming. I'm dog shit at gaming. I still play video games on a stream. I know that it like brings in a different audience as well. In my line of work, I've realized, especially the position that I'm advocating for, is one that either Americans especially are either completely oblivious to and have never heard of it, or are inherently antagonistic to. So charitability is the most important thing. And I think like collaborations and people seeing me in a different light and not just simply clips, because that's just the most common way that people learn about other content creators, is the best way forward. But that's just for me. I'm not saying it's for all of you guys as well. I'm just sharing what I've seen through my experience.
Yeah, of course, man. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Does anybody else want to hop in here?
Yeah, who wants to debate me? Harry,
go ahead. Hasan,
what do I have to say, man?
One time on stream, well, you referenced Harry as like the DNC shill, and then you referenced me as the car guy. So at least Harry gets a name.
Hasan, do you still think I'm a shill?
I don't know. I haven't seen any of your new stuff, so I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you'd see Harry as a shill. Yeah.
Let me ask you. No. This is important. What do you think about Hakeem Jeffries' performance so far?
You mean as the minority leader, just generally the past couple of years, or since Trump has gotten into office?
Since Trump, since Trump's coming.
Pretty mediocre. Mediocre.
All right. That's good.
I mean, it's been too weak. I don't like how he's not criticized like Eric Adams.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking insane. I know he's like taking the position of, we have to wait and see if the charges are dismissed. I think that's bullshit. I don't think he's been hard enough on Trump. I really don't like how like Jerry Connolly is leading the Judiciary Committee and not AOC. I think we've been making like some very simple mistakes. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's
helpful. Hasan, it is possible to be nuanced. Like the moderate Democrats are too moderate, and the progressive Democrats are too progressive, and you could just be somewhere in the middle.
I have a question too.
What's up?
Okay. And this is because I feel like I've been getting more radical in my views on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
But the main critique that I've seen from your supporters, and I think even you called me way too libbed out for this when you were reacting to my Jubilee episode.
I think it was the immigration stuff. Maybe.
Immigration policy. Yes, I wanted to ask you about that. So, in accordance with the stance that I either shared on the Jubilee episode, or I could just kind of reiterate my thoughts on immigration now, I'd love for you to tell me why I'm wrong.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, first immigrate. I guess, okay, we'll start with border policy. So border policy, what I want in my best version of the world is as many ports of entry that operate as efficiently and as quickly as possible with screening processes that specifically expel and do not allow people into the country that have committed violent crimes. And then for undocumented migrants that are already in America, for undocumented migrants that have committed violent crimes, to deport them. And for undocumented migrants that have not committed violent crimes, to offer them a pathway to residency or citizenship.
Look, sorry to cut you off. You don't. Oh, okay. So you don't want to deport undocumented migrants that haven't committed crimes, but undocumented migrants that have committed crimes, you want to deport them.
Specifically violent crimes, yeah.
No, specifically
W. Dean.
Okay. So I don't disagree with anything that you just said at all. I don't think we're in disagreement in terms of, well, I guess the only thing that I would disagree with is if an undocumented migrant has caused a violent crime, I would want the American court system to handle it and actually imprison that person rather than allowing them to be free. Like, I don't want rapists to get a trip back home. You know what I mean? And then just be like, all right.
You know what? That's a good point. You know, if so if we would do like the deportation of undocumented migrants that have committed violent crimes, it'd be conditional given where they're deported would be where they land in a jail cell. Or
like, I mean, or I would rather house them in the American carceral structure to ensure that they are actually serving, like to ensure that they're just served. Here's a good debate tactic.
That's actually a great argument. I think it's a great point.
Ask Republicans every time they say, "Oh, I want undocumented migrants that have caused crimes to be deported." Ask them, why do you want rapists to roam free if they fucking did a rape? Why do you not? Let's say an undocumented migrant is like done a heinous.
Cooking with that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Why have I never thought of that? What the?
I
haven't thought about that either.
You don't want punishment. You don't want crimes to be punished. That's weird. So that's a nice little debate tactic there. But it is something that I also believe. I want amnesty for all undocumented immigrants that are living on U.S. soil right now, as long as they have not committed like any sort of heinous violent crime. But even when we entertain the notion that like we're deporting violent criminals or the Trump administration is like going after violent criminals, I think you guys all know that that's not the case.
No.
It's not like the previous administration was like, "Oh, are you Guatemalan and you did a rape? Okay, sorry, we can't arrest you." Like, that's so fucking stupid. Like, no, of course, being arrested and being prosecuted, right? So that notion is like that premise that they operate off of is like a faulty hidden premise. The idea that like the Biden administration was not adequately targeting people that have done crimes regardless of their immigration status. And that's precisely the reason why I believe it was the Associated Press that came out with initial reporting that the majority of the undocumented migrants that have been deported so far, some of which aren't even undocumented, by the way, they are deporting documented non-citizens and undocumented non-citizens. And the majority of them had not committed any crimes. And a big chunk of those who had actually done crimes had done shit like trespassing. You know what I mean? Or obstructing justice, like ridiculous, erroneous claims that normally would be thrown out under any other circumstance. And
I was under the impression that majority of individuals that they've deported so far were individuals that have been documented as committing a crime or a violent crime. But the reason why that's the case is not because they wanted to only or focus on the deportation of undocumented migrants who have committed crimes, but rather those were just the easiest undocumented migrants.
Oh, are you talking about? Yeah, the ones that are in the prison system already. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and like the misconstruction from Trump supporters, creating a narrative that because for the first week, 800 out of 1,000 deportations were from individuals that were already in the prison system. Yeah. You know what I mean?
They deported people that were already in the prison system, and that's why they like Tom Homan is talking about setting up a facility inside of Rikers in New York because they want to just like quickly, expeditiously deport any undocumented migrant that's done a crime. I still think it's ridiculous to do that. I think it's better to serve justice rather than just like give people a free trip back home.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, where they're free. I totally agree with that. Yeah, you're totally right when it comes to that. So it's totally, yeah, they would have to justify that the deportations wouldn't have freed people right into other places around the world, because seemingly they would care about those places. Yeah. I mean, they would probably say some crazy shit like they don't give a fuck in most circumstances if you had someone who's back on the line.
Yeah, Republicans are insane. But the other secondary problem with the deportation of criminals is mass destabilization in the country that you're sending them back to, especially if you look at MS-13. If you look at the history of El Salvador, MS-13 is an is an El Salvadoran gang that was born out of undocumented migrants from El Salvador having to resort to gang violence and criminal activity in an effort to make ends meet. And then they got incredibly radicalized in the California prison structure. And then the American government sent them back to El Salvador without telling the El Salvadoran government that they were fucking criminals. And lo and behold, they now had a network where they could engage in international crime back and forth with the United States of America and basically overtook the government. I'm being a little reductive in the way that I'm explaining this story, but that's the secondary problem of just like mass releasing criminals. Not saying that like the 800 people that they deported initially were all like MS-13 style criminals or whatever, but ultimately, there's also that additional issue as well when you engage in mass deportations of criminals too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we would disagree on immigration. Then I think a lot of our disagreements would probably be like on our liberal views. Like, are you like a socialist that like prioritizes cooperatives or like state or like command control?
Well, I have a cooperative, but on top of that, no, I do believe in state control. I mean, I think we already have state control in general in America as well. It's just that the incentive structure revolves around subsidies to mega corporations, and instead of the state executing any sort of centralized planning with like a multiple decade policy in mind, we're just kind of operating on quarterly returns. Like we're just trying to maximize corporate profit. So there is still a level of state control. There's no true libertarian enterprise in this country or in any country really. Of course, there has to be state control to a certain degree in order to maintain prices, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say that there isn't like no state control, but like, are you arguing that like the predominant factor of the economy would be the state control or like the cooperative control? Like, are you like someone who would believe that there should be some cooperatives based on markets, or eradicate markets entirely?
I like cooperatives, and I think that there is a middle ground with like some market solutions, while still making sure that the state has the public best interest in mind in terms of creating commodities.
Okay, and then here would be my question: is what would you then like mandate there either as cooperatives or it's state control? Like if you had the ability to control that?
If I had the ability to control it, would I mandate every single corporation, every single corporate structure to be a cooperative structure?
Or like it would be state controlled, like nationalized?
Yeah. I think that the government should provide, at least in the interim, the government should provide basic necessities like shelter and become a market competitor, which would be unfair for the market, certainly, with the sole purpose of eventually eradicating certain necessary commodities from the private structure. You can have personal property all day, every day, of course, and even luxury goods or whatever kind of accommodations that you desire. But ultimately, it's more so rent seeking that I'm against. It's more so private property that I think is not good and creates is at the heart of all of this inequality. But this is stuff that's never going to happen in my lifetime, I don't think. I'm simply trying to move in the direction, at least in the short term, in the direction of modest reforms that genuinely improve people's lives.
So then my thoughts are that like it sounds like your goals are you want to achieve this in the future, but your thoughts are that you were not even close or even at that point at all entirely. So pragmatically, you're just going to end up being like a social democrat.
The way, I mean, yeah, what I advocate for, my most radical perspectives don't come from domestic policy. It's usually my anti-imperialist positions that cause a lot of ire in, especially in the minds of a lot of Americans. But yeah, and as far as domestic policy goes, yeah, I mean, I'm an advocate for nationalized healthcare structure. I'm an advocate for socialized medicine in general, public housing in general. But these are, I would say, relatively modest reforms that exist in one way, shape, or form in other social democracies in Europe, even though they are running into the same problems with the parasitic nature of capital in terms of social democracies basically clawing back all of these social safety nets year over year with austerity measures, with the inevitable goal is privatization, and that is part of the reason why I think that I'm, I guess, a little bit more radical in the long term with what I believe. But yes, in the short term, I advocate mostly for modest social democratic proposals.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, it practically in terms of domestic policy sounds like we're like practically on like the same side. And whatnot. Obviously, like that's why like we pretty much agree in terms of all like the policies and the people that we support and stuff. But I feel like a lot of leftists get really focused on like everyone agreeing on like those like sort of, I don't want to call them fringe economically related issues, but they're like it's really like definitions and stuff. It's not like we don't pragmatically disagree. We get really focused on like, oh, we have that type of disagreement when we're in reality arguing, at least in the time period, the same for the same thing.
Yeah. Well, the reasons for why I advocate for these things might be a little different than yours. Aside from like genuinely improving people's lives, and this is another thing that I'm not like secretive about, but I see a noticeable lack of class consciousness in the American working class in general. There is tremendous class consciousness for capital owners, whether they even recognize it or not, and they don't even need to have class consciousness because the system is structured to benefit their needs regardless, and to continue their position as generating engaging in capital accumulation. The entire system is designed in that way, but the reasons as to why I think it's important to be able to do this is because I want labor unions and labor militancy to at least exist in this country so that there is a valid mechanism of pushback against politicians on the Republican side of the spectrum, certainly, but even on the Democratic side as well, because I think without, like, there's never been a moment throughout American history or history at all where concessions were given to the working class, whether it be the fucking weekends or whether it be paid leave or any of those things, or the abolition of child labor, without real labor militancy. That has simply never happened. And the same goes for social struggles as well. Same goes for civil rights. Like, militancy is an absolute necessity. And I see the American working class as completely removed from that conversation, where they just understandably see themselves as powerless in this structure. And I think that breeds resentment, hostility, and it creates, paired up with the economic volatility that many Americans experience, that creates a perfect ground for right-wing reactionary fascist movements to grow. And that's what we're seeing in America.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree with that. So I'm not as educated on economics as Parker is. But what I will say is seemingly that's compatible with like a social democrat model to like advocate for more class consciousness, to like, get, more social reform, better programs for individuals and like, the low middle class, and, create economic policy in which centers the average citizen or constituent of a country compared to, those who have the most money. But I will say, maybe the more we advocate for class consciousness, the more I educate myself on, like this paradigm of conflicts between, classes of wealth and how to effectively resolve them. Maybe that just naturally leads you down this pathway of becoming just completely radicalized socialists,
But I don't think like, I mean, I joke and I say like, yeah, I have radical beliefs, but like, I mean, what's the saying?
I'm sorry, that was a play on words. I was joking too.
No. It's by no measure of mental wellness to be well adjusted to a completely insane society. Like, think about it that way, where advocacy for socialized medicine is seen as a bridge too far for many Americans who are so heavily propagandized, no matter how brilliant they fancy themselves to be. The independent thinkers who think that like social medicine means like, oh, we're going to do Venezuela style rat eating in America or whatever the fuck, right? So like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's radicalization, more so an evolution by recognizing the understandable contradictions that are baked into capitalism, because capitalism was an advancement from the previous mode of commodity production for sure. But most of even what Marx talks about in terms of capitalism is not necessarily, attacking capitalism at all, but instead simply describing capitalism with dialectics, like through the assessment of, and you might think it's a little bit reductive at this point, but like through an assessment of like capital accumulators, capital owning, the capital owners, the bourgeoisie, and the workers that are wage laborers in general, the proletariat. So that's just, it's more so a description of how things are, and not necessarily like moralizing a certain position that like, workers are always good, or they always do the right things, or anything like that. There's no good bad dynamics there at all. And instead, it's just about describing how capital is accumulated.
Dean just got hit with a.
I'm having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, hit with technical.
Got hit with a meteor, dude.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts
I don't
on
understand how glorious Xi Jinping's application TikTok would do this right as I'm talking about abolishing the commodity form.
He's gone. He's getting banned.
yeah, I guess where I'm coming from, and I'm coming from someone who used to be a socialist myself for a pretty long time, and I actually started my whole content creation like creating like leftist and socialist content, is that like a lot of these issues that exist I think can be solved with social democracy. And a lot of people say that there's like issues with social democracy, it starts to corrupt, people start to fight and advocate against it, but I don't think that's a critique against social democracy in of itself. I think that just means that you just need to maintain social democracy in the same type of way like we maintain our democracy.
Well,
I
man,
feel like that's
social democracy hasn't been tried.
well, I mean, like we could say that like we don't think that this real certain form has been tried, and I think that that's cool, but like my argument would then be is that we'd have to try it on smaller levels to be able to see whether or not it works on a larger form in order to be able to say that like it's actually effective. I don't think we'd be able to say that we should adopt it on some sort of globalized production model if it is the case that we don't have any type of level of actual probabilistic means of demonstrating how likely it is that it's going to be beneficial for workers or for people, because we could actually like hurt some of our concerns like, oh, quality of life for workers, if we don't take that into account when we're like applying these sorts of systems, if we don't know what the empirical effect is of these different types of theoretical models. Not to say that theoretical models can't be then used or seen to be effective later on, but it's like we just need evidence to indicate that these particular models are effective before we establish it on such a pragmatic basis worldwide, is what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, we're not getting there anytime soon anyway. I'm not saying like tomorrow with a magic wand we are going to dissolve the class structure and live in a moneyless, classless, stateless society.
Yeah, my thoughts even then, like, would even a stateless society be like desirable in the future? Like, even if we hit like full automation. So I don't want to like full on socialist debate you, but like, even if we hit full automation, like, would it even be desirable for us to get rid of that? Like, because we still want a state to like limit people from committing crimes, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'm not a communist, so I think that like I can't even imagine what that would look like in general. But the way I explain it is like I'm not opposed to it. I wouldn't say I'm a communist, but I wouldn't say that I'm opposed to a stateless, moneyless society, a borderless society.
Okay. Would you be against like the enforcement of certain types of laws? Like once we meet that society, I feel like in a communist society, there's no government that would enforce laws against like pedophilia. I feel like that would be true, right?
No, yes, obviously. I'm that's why I'm saying I'm not a communist, but if society evolved in a way where we're talking so far out there, like we're now talking about theoretically what it would look like, right? We're basically fantasizing about a world that is from where I'm standing impossible to imagine. But I think like the argument, I guess, would be that one, obviously most crime in general, with the exception of like antisocial personality disorder related crimes, are like psychopathy or sociopathy, like things like that, crimes born out of crimes that might be born out of like mental problems. And not to say that like people with mental health issues are criminals or whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But with the exception of those, like most crime is done because of financial circumstances, like your material conditions create a likelihood for you to go out and do crime. And I think the argument there is that like in that structure, it's already all of your needs are addressed anyway. So the only remaining crime would possibly be, like you said, pedophilia, which I guess at that stage, medical advancements would have found a solution for that as well. Like I'm assuming that's what it would look like if I were to envision a communist society. So the concept of crime in and of itself would be entirely destroyed, considering that the overwhelming majority of crime is born out of material conditions.
I mean, you can also just appeal to some libertarian enforcement mechanism, right? Don't forget those. Don't forget those collectives, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a libertarian by any means. So, and that's part. Like, I'm a state enjoyer. I often, especially in this past month, I've been talking quite a bit about how we should have 1 million more government employees. I think it's fucking ridiculous that we're trying to cut government employees rather than hire more people for the government. I think that's that's one of the biggest problems in America is that we don't have enough people doing jobs in general. Any area, like I'll give you the TSA as an example. I flew into Salt Lake City for the day to shoot a podcast with my co-host who has escaped to Utah. Okay, and it was fucking annoying. I was waiting in line, and I was waiting in line for a fucking hour. Okay, it sucked. And back in the day, I used to be like, man, fuck these guys. Like, these guys suck at their jobs. They're just like sitting around twiddling their thumbs, not doing a good job. Now I'm woke. I realize that it's not because of the individual employee that's like handling this insane amount of demand. It's that somewhere along the line, someone decided that we're going to need to do budget cuts and that we're not going to be able to open up the extra lines, right? Because we don't want to pay for the salaries of additional TSA employees at the time. Same with luggage handlers, right? Like anywhere where you experience as a consumer, anywhere you experience any sort of issue, our immediate inclination is that it's actually the fault of the individual workers who are fucking lazy, and that's wrong. That's just simply incorrect. It is directly because companies are corner cutting, cost cutting, and the most malleable aspect of commodity production always is going to be labor. So you cost cut by forcing 4 people to do the job of 8, especially when you can get away with it, especially when conditions have deteriorated and you're fearful that you might lose your job and then lose your fucking house, or not be able to pay rent anymore. The same principle holds for the federal government as well. TSA employees are already technically federal government employees anyway. That's why I use that as an example. Trump cut a bunch of TSA employees as well. I think it was like 300 or something. Really,
yeah, I like how it's ironic how MAGA says like these criminals are like taking our jobs, but really it's Donald Trump who's the criminal taking our jobs.
Yeah,
from federal employees. Kind of crazy shit that's embarking on. I don't mean to like go into a whole socialism debate with you, but yeah, thanks for answering all my questions. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no problem.
Hasan, I got a question.
All right, let's hear it.
So, it's been funny Okay. So it's about every like 30 to 45 days, I'll check my Twitter DMs and I'll see a new DM from you saying, pop out to LA and come on the show. And and it's just been so funny because it's been happening for like 6 months. And at this point, I think it's hilarious. You know, I'm no.
I told you next time you're in LA, hit me up. But you were like, "Oh, I'll come to LA even just for that alone." I was like,
"Yeah,
well,
bro, I'll pop on just for that."
I felt like that was too much pressure. I don't want to. I don't know where you live, but that's like.
It's not. Don't worry. I live in LA, so he'll come out and see me too.
Yeah, I got a $65 flight one way to LA from my local airport.
Hell yeah! What do you guys think about Jubilee, Straight Arrow News? That's my biggest gripe with Jubilee.
Oh my god, I hate their fact checking so much. It's the worst ever. Also, like I think what they did with Michael Knowles here recently was pretty negligent.
Do you guys know
on their behalf?
Straight Arrow News that presents itself as an impartial news outlet, like a fact checker, is actually owned by a fucking billionaire dude. I forget what his name is. Hold on, let me look this up real quick.
That's actually a crazy issue, man. I was literally on stream like bitching. I was like, I don't know if I'm tripping, but these fact checks are trash.
Are horrible. Like, I know, right?
I thought I was being dumb. I was like,
so the fact checks are right leaning.
Bro, the fact,
totally are.
And
okay,
they're always like missing. They're always like missing. They're always missing like incredibly important context. So they almost are purposely misleading. It's odd.
No,
I think those are ad reads almost. I almost think that they're ad reads.
It's weird.
If you go on their website, the first thing that comes up on the commentary side is Dr. Frank Luntz. Do you guys know who that is?
Where do I know the name?
Oh yeah, that name sounds familiar.
He is a right-wing pollster, very famous right-wing pollster, and wears the ugliest toupee of all time. And also is responsible for, I don't know if you guys watched Vice, Adam McKay's movie Vice about Dick Cheney, but there's an entire segment dedicated to him. He's responsible for things like coming up with new ways of selling the Bush-Cheney administration's like insane proposals, like death tax.
Yep.
Yeah, that it used to be called estate tax, but now it's called death tax because of the likes of Frank Luntz. But beyond Frank Luntz, the entire thing is owned by. I'm trying to figure out the name of the guy who owns it. Like, not on the advisor board. If you look at their advisor board on the website, you'll find out that there's like a bunch of right-wing people on there. But like, oh, Joe Ricketts, that's the guy. Joe Ricketts is the CEO and founder of Straight Arrow News. He is also I think he's a TD Ameritrade. Yeah, he founded the company that later became TD Ameritrade, a securities industry leader that empowers self-directed investors with powerful and innovative investment tools and training. TD Ameritrade was acquired by Charles Schwab Corporation in November of 2019. Now, when you look up Joe Ricketts, however, on Wikipedia, you find out a little bit more about little old Joe Ricketts' political perspectives, aside from the fact that he's obviously a fucking billionaire. So he's,
dude owns the Chicago Cubs. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not going to have great opinions in general, being a billionaire. But then you look up, his anti-Muslim and racist email controversy.
Oh God, Jesus Christ!
And you find out that. Splinter News in February 5th, 2019, released a cache of Ricketts' emails from 2009 to 2014. He wrote that Islam could not create a civil society, that we cannot ever let Islam become a large part of our society, and that Muslims are naturally in parentheses, our enemy. Included were Obama citizenship conspiracy theory emails and claims that Obama favored Islam over other religions. Included were multiple racist joke emails that he received and responded to positively, including slurs against Black and Hispanic people. He apologized for the emails after they were made public.
And this is the company that does the fact checking on
Totally not biased at all.
That's actually kind of crazy.
My thoughts are, and I've kind of gathered these thoughts just from the 2 episodes I shot, is that all of their production team is all very liberal, libbed out in like the best way possible. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
But then all of their post production, are like some incel 34-year-old men that lean so far right It's it's unhealthy, right? And that's kind of the dynamic that I've seen, because everybody in production, super liberal, super cool, super fun to work with, and honestly, pretty great people from my experience.
Yep.
But then, the moment it goes to posts, that's when it gets a little bit tricky. And then one other small thing that I noticed was for the episode that I filmed, this one woke teen versus 20 Trump supporters, I had no control over what happened with the content that was filmed. It was sent to their post team and it was put live on YouTube. But something I noticed was that when Ben Shapiro did his episode, they gave him and his team full editorial control over what parts of it went live and what parts of it didn't go live.
And one thing that happened with that is that like they actually cut off my main debate with Ben and they put it on the second Jubilee channel. And the same thing with like my debate on politics with Charlie. They completely cut it out from like the main video and posted it on like the second account or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, at least they still made use of it, so that's good.
That is true.
That is, of course, these guys are very big content creators in general, so they probably get those assurances ahead of time, and it's in Jubilee's best interest to keep them happy. Like, I'm sure if I did the same thing, they would probably give me the same assurances as well. I wouldn't say that's an indication of their right-wing leanings, but the entire concept of, debate the humanity of trans people with trans people in and of itself is already like inherently right-wing, in my opinion. Not to say I'm against that sort of thing at all. Like, I'm not anti-debate across the board, but it always starts on this like faulty premise. It always starts on this like obvious imbalance. Like there was a
that's what pisses me off, is that debate about the existence of trans individuals already is a little bit iffy, but then what they do is they'll get some PR media trained in it for like 20 years, right winger.
It's making him the hero, and putting him against people who are not professional debaters. Like when they're not professional debaters and they're just randoms, and the person who's the hero is arguing that transgenderism should be eradicated from public life entirely. That's what's problematic, is that like the hero, the person who's being shown to be like, oh, the rational person, while there's the triggered person on the other side, is shown that way. And like people didn't have an issue with it with Charlie Kirk is because we had pretty good debaters, right? Like I'm not saying no one was good at the debaters there, but like obviously there was most of the people there were not like professionalized debaters, right? They weren't like people that have platforms or things like that. They weren't people that have like backgrounds debating that type of stuff. It was just going to be like a typical person who's debating, right? Or who believes that.
No, absolutely. That is very consistent with like not just Jubilee but across the board. Like the right has a network of operatives and a lot more money because obviously consolidated wealth understands the importance of propaganda, and especially right-wing propaganda, which is very effective in terms of creating distractions for people. So they fund a lot of people. Like it's not just PragerU, you know what I mean? They're very well funded. So that creates a lot more professional commentators in general. Yeah, that's why there's also a noticeable difference, I think, with like organic right-wing content creators. Like that fucking old millennial guy that everybody...
Oh my god, I fucking hate
don't
that
even
guy.
get me fucking started on that dude.
You know about OM, Hasan?
Dude,
I can't believe you know
God.
about him. I can't believe you know about him.
Because I see he's just so like... He does is he Gen X or millennial? I don't know. He does the millennial pause and he has that like annoying like... I know what I'm talking
The guy said that he wanted to grate me. One night he was on live.
It's horrible.
He was very drunk, and he straight up said that I'm pretty. I'm a very pretty guy, and if he was gay, he said this. If I was gay, that's what he said. If he was gay, that I would be a target of his.
Are you talking about older millennial?
Yeah.
Yes.
He also said he wants to throw disabled people off of mountains.
Yeah, I only guess you were talking about him because you said he was super drunk on live. I mean, that he does have like 3 DUIs.
Yeah, he gets hammered like every night and then goes talks and shit to other people. It's kind of sad.
If he works hard enough.
He'll work at Fox. Maybe he'll be the next Department of Defense secretary. I don't know. One day.
That guy's like, that's the thing. Like, he's too gross. He came up like organically. He didn't go through the farm corporation. Like, he didn't go through Daily Wire like Brett Cooper. You know what I mean?
See, Harry.
You want to know how he blew up? He blew up making content about Harry, about how he hates Harry.
Overwinter
what
has
you're
like 3 or 4 DUI, so he'd be the next director of ATF.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's the DUI national champion. Racking him up.
You gotta get a DUI. I mean, that's always been the case for Florida politics in general. So I'm glad that we're just like nationalized.
And what do you know? Older millennial lives in Florida. So
Yeah.
Dude, that's actually crazy. I had
If he was, when he was drunk, he said that he would, what did he grape you? That is also very, very Florida.
Yeah.
oh man, yeah, that guy sucks. That guy fucking sucks.
Designed to capture cryptocurrency pedophiles.
Bob.
I feel so bad. I feel so bad.
How do we fix that?
We don't.
And I mean this.
It's over.
I mean this very seriously. What do we do about like cultures across our country that are just so ingrained in right-wing nonsense that just causes so much harm to so many people? How do you pull individuals out of that and somehow like turn it around in, like, for instance, like a state like Florida or some of the deep red places in Texas?
You got to give them a job. That's what you got to do. So they just, shut the fuck up and work. But I mean, honestly, you can't really do that much. Like, I think you just have to work. I don't think it's about like fixing individuals by arguing with them necessarily, but instead fixing the underlying material issues that create more reactionaries in general. Because if people's like immediate needs are addressed, they're less likely to go down this pipeline. There's always going to be ridiculous right-wing positions across the board, but I think the best possible thing to do is try to, make people help people get health care and things like that, and keep them preoccupied.
Yeah, no. You actually make a good point there. When individuals' immediate needs are not addressed, they're more likely to go down that pipeline. Because I've always been trying to understand why the average Republican has less money than the average Democrat, and the Democrat Party is obviously going to be better comparatively to the Republican Party for those with less wealth. And I've always tried to explain this phenomenon, and I think
Parker,
that
please.
you've kind of explained it. It's you don't have your immediate needs met, you're more likely to ride to the right.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to have those needs met. The more money you have.
Hey, what up, Mason?
Okay, capitalism.
Yo, Hank, what's going on here? But I came in because I heard some chatter going on, specifically just about socialism versus liberalism. What's going on?
We're just having a
I'll be good, man.
we're just having a patriot meetup, Mason.
Yeah, there's a radical communist above my head. And Harry and I are, the sane ones.
And we got the DNC shills.
That's
I don't
right.
know what you're talking about, the communists. This guy's the biggest patriot I know.
I'm kidding.
Y'all haven't heard of Hank Pecker? You should look into him.
Yeah.
You got some research to do.
Mason is my sleeper cell in all the Jubilee.
Jesus Christ.
I know I saw that one Jubilee episode of him like sneaking in that, and I thought it was the funniest shit ever.
Yeah.
I was dying.
No, I heard like a little bit about the Michael Knoll shit, and I just have to say, they told us that the prompts were way more chill than that. It was fucking insane when he's just like, transgenderism should be eradicated or whatever it is that he said, because like that was completely genocidal, and I don't know how they're able to just.
Well, you know what probably
Right,
happened
that's it.
was the same thing that they tried to do to me. So I worked out like the prompts for my woke teen video with him for like a month. But it was like 3 days before I was supposed to fly out to LA. I get an email from the director, and they're like, "Hey, we just want to change up the prompts to make them a little bit more oriented for the success of the video." Then all of a
Which is just
sudden,
like rage
they
baiting as much as
then
possible.
all of a sudden they want me to debate that Donald Trump will like fucking destroy America and kill everybody. And
Did you sign like an NDA with him, Dean? Like, are you planning on going on more videos?
no, I haven't signed an NDA with him.
Because like, did they pay you a certain amount of money? Because there's also allegations going around that they paid him like tens of thousands of dollars to come on, which is
I've heard that too, and I actually brought that up with Dean. Dean has never.
Alexis Rose. Those Alexis
Yeah.
Rose. I just saw her in the chat. She actually might even be here. No, I didn't get paid a dime. In fact, I even paid for my own plane ride out there. But I don't care. I love the experience nonetheless. and I doubt that Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, or any of those people got paid. I'll say it, like, just in conversation with them, it doesn't seem like in a very genuine way. It didn't seem like they had the money to cover me. So I doubt it if they had the money to cover them. But it's it's possible that they did. I wonder what the evidence for the claim is.
I mean, I think that Ben Shapiro
here
did
my
them more of a favor just because of how much of a national profile he has. But they definitely helped Michael Knowles because nobody knows who that motherfucker is unless they are politically involved.
Yeah, I don't know why Michael Knowles would have gotten paid that much money, because the thing is they couldn't have made that much money off of the YouTube ad revenue. It's just not possible off YouTube ad revenue off of how many views the video got.
Right.
So it would have had to have been an ad read on the video, which it depends on how much they made off the ad read, right?
Yeah.
Hasan, would you consider going on a Jubilee episode?
They've asked a bunch of times, and they've been asking for years.
Yeah.
I thought I would do it with Ben Shapiro, but then I think about it and I'm like, why don't I just set it up on my own? I guess Ben Shapiro won't do it, but
I think you should just set it up on your own.
yeah, if I why would I do that on Jubilee? Any number of different debates that they want to put together, I could just do on my own if I felt the need to do so. But I mean, it is good. I mean, they get a lot of views, and that's a good thing. They get a lot of TikTok clips out of it, and it drives discourse for a little bit. So maybe.
Yeah, drive it in the right way. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what type of content you would want to do. If that's not stuff you're interested in, that's obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like debating, and then I'm not a good debater, but I also will still. I've debated plenty of conservative commentators, both on our Fox local here in LA, and also on Politicon back in the day when they had that.
The OG Charlie Kirk debater. Dude.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen that.
I live like a capitalist chink. That's so funny. Someone resurfaced that debate recently, and it went viral, and people were like, "This guy's lying. He doesn't make $60,000 a year. He lives in a $3 million mansion." I'm like, dude, conservatives don't understand the concept of time.
Dude. That's so real, dude. Yeah.
You literally are just time. How does it change? What happens when days go by? It's a fucking debate from 2017 or 2016 or some shit. But
yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, but I mean, I think those are good for driving discourse, like really good for driving discourse and getting the other side involved. And I think that the more we engage in these types of conversations, the more people will critically think about those types of things. Because I think when people go into their own echo chambers, they just they don't critically think as much.
I think that there definitely is a good that comes from just making these people look unhinged and stupid to the greater public. But where is the threshold where it becomes harmful for just platforming insane shit? I think that there has to be a line where it's okay, this is not something that's a civil discourse.
I think
I think we do that on live all the time. There are certain people where we're gonna be okay, I can't debate this person. This person's so insane, too much, right? That definitely happens on the live and stuff. But it's also the person who's in the main person or the host of it is the person that has good views. Well, it's really important as well, and also having good arguments. If you have good arguments, it's okay to platform. If you don't have good arguments, it's not okay.
I think
I just wanted to say real quick. I feel like I've probably tested that line, the most out of creators,
because you went to the extreme of the conversation.
Yeah, you went to that one
talking with one dude.
Yeah, and I think I found it. I think I found the line. So for me, I was told that Aiden Ross wanted to bring me on to debate somebody that was right-leaning. First it was going to be Candace Owens or Ben Shapiro even. And then, I learned day of, they bait and switch. They're debate Nick Fuentes or we're going to get somebody else to. Then I debate Nick Fuentes. I think I fucking destroyed him in the debate. And I honestly think that conversation yielded more good than bad.
You did destroy him.
Speaking, because I just made his arguments look so terrible. But after that, I ended up getting around to Myron Gaines. And there was a point where I was going to debate Myron Gaines, But then I inevitably ended up like watching this guy go on a Twitter space and just like slur at women and minorities for 30 minutes straight. And whenever anybody would be like, man, you shouldn't do that, he was like, oh, well, you're just a beta, like cuck F slur. And after seeing that, like I never ended up talking to him. And I think the red line for me really does fall at one's ability to at least try to demonstrate their beliefs to be logical. Because so if someone wants to position themselves as a rational thinker that wants to guide humanity towards the best future, and they frame that to be alt-right, well, that's something that you could actually debunk because they uphold some sentiment of rationality. But as soon as they stop upholding that sentiment of rationality, I think that's where you shouldn't engage. But as long as there exists this collective sentiment of rationality amongst a group of people engaging in like similar thoughts, I think it's acceptable to engage with them as long as, you know, you're confident in your own beliefs, you're more educated than them, and you could shit on them. And that would pertain to, you know, even people like Fuentes.
I see this. I'm going to push back on this. I think, and I have also had a bait and switch with Nick Fuentes many, many years ago. Really? And I see that as one of the worst moments of my career, not because he's like a profound debater or anything like that, but because I think there are ideas that is better not to platform at all, especially because Nazis don't, like open neo-Nazis don't necessarily care about the truth at all. They just want a platform. They will lie to you knowing full well that they're lying to you, and they don't necessarily care about the truth at all. And every moment that you waste arguing with them in general is a moment where they're still getting in front of people and maybe even convincing them. Nick Fuentes, I would say, is a particularly good propagandist in that vein. So I've always had a never platform Nazis policy, with the only exception being that if they reach a certain point of prominence, or if they're getting like highlighted by mainstream outlets, like Richard Spencer used to get a lot of coverage from the New York Times in the first Trump era, and I would lose my fucking mind. I would do like pieces on it all the time. But with the exception of like reaching a level of national prominence, I always stay back from. I always urge people not to engage with Nazis at all. Especially if you have a large platform. You know what I mean? You don't want that shit to spread at all.
I think like deplatforming is shown to work, right? Like as much as I criticize like the Biden regime, I think that seeing Nazis off of Twitter did a lot of good towards like isolating them from being able to gain more followers. Like I don't remember ever seeing Nick Fuentes clips until the Elon takeover, and I think that that's a direct product of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think like Dean, I think like a lot of problem is like Hasan saying.
I actually think that's Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross kind of like tried to like mainstream Nick Fuentes. So I think the reason why is it just there was a correlation causation sort of moment.
No, it was
like
initially Destiny. He's the one who initially revitalized Nick Fuentes' career. He had him on. He like debated him at his house. They ate chicken and waffles together. He gave his phone number. He gave his fucking phone number to Adam 22 so he could go on like the podcast route and go on all these podcasts. There's like a clip of him literally being like, "Why doesn't he appreciate me more? Like I literally made his career. I gave his phone number to Adam 22." And it's just like that's what I worry about all the time when I see people that are always engaging in debate, where I'm like, you don't ever want to lose yourself in becoming this guy that only is in it for like dunking on people and in sight of like a greater political project that you know you might believe in. I don't know what everyone's political background is here. So
yeah, Dean, it all comes back to the idea of like normalization, right? Like even if you're going in there and shitting on them and like everybody sees it as like the logical sentiment is there. Like if they get anywhere near a platform, then they're like, and you see it so much in like a macro sense. I talk all the time about like the normalization of like fucking fight or like however many years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, like Trump's holding like an LGBTQ plus flag on stage, and we're like arguing with MAGA about how like they're like, oh, see, he loves everyone. Now that's like would be unheard of, and it's just the idea of like you start to get into these spaces where people are able to like suggest horrible.
Desensitized.
Yeah, they become desensitized because even if you do inevitably shit on them, then maybe like just on a one-on-one level, like you go on live and someone comes up and they're like, oh, well, I think that they're just being completely logical. Oh, I think that like Fuentes shit on you, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes like a normalized thing to debate when there was no debate to begin with. Like he was never coming out with logic. And what that causes is like this normalization. And so like, it's exactly how I'm like,
way to put it.
It's exactly
Donald Trump is a literal case study in this.
Yeah, it's exactly how the Republican Party operates. And actually how like Hasan, like, in some ways, even though I have disagreements with Hasan, like you've talked about like the idea like how Republicans are able to use like when they want to get something done, they don't care about the public opinion around that thing, where Democrats may view like public opinion as like weather. They need to like constantly change their views based on what people are thinking. Like Republicans knew it however many years ago, a decade ago, that like being kind of this anti-LGBTQ plus sentiment at the time, at least publicly, was not nearly as popular, but they didn't care. They just started to like push it and normalize it, and now all of a sudden like it's very normal to say like horrible, awful things. And so like it's not really about, I think it's, you know, it's less about like you determining the line and more about like you like it's just constant like normalization. And if there was never a debate to begin with, like after you went on and then like the whole thing happened with Fuentes, Aiden Ross DM'd me and was like, do you want to debate Fuentes? And I was like, no, because I'm obviously much smaller than you, much smaller than any of them. But again, I'm like seeing like it's just like, I'm like, I could do that, but you're just like bringing people, you're just normalizing a conversation that there was never a conversation to begin with. You know what I mean?
You know, Chris,
So
I was
wait. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
No,
so no,
go ahead.
I was thinking about that too, because Dean and I had like a small conversation about like whether or not he should do it or not. And I was half mind of it, because although I agree with you, Chris, that there's a normalization going on of it in part, but at the same time, these ideas are growing and we need people to push back, because we are losing our like memory of these things.
But why are they growing? That's the question.
Well,
it's like
no,
to Mason's
they're
point,
growing.
I'd also probably have many disagreements with. Like again, like you're seeing these things grow because like Musk gets Twitter, people stop getting deplatformed, and then all these conversations just become normalized.
Yeah. No.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. As we're debating them, we're like causing them to be more positive.
I think what Matt's saying is that like the normalization comes from the fact that people had these beliefs in the first place. So you have to address that people have these beliefs. My point in terms of a content creator is that you address it if they already have like if it's already a normalized conversation and you're responding to that normalization, or if there's going to be something in which causes a likelihood in which it could be normalized. So it is an effort to not to stigmatize it or to make sure that it's not normalized.
Well,
like, do you think you can engage in a conversation
also
against it
about
without normalizing the conversation of it in all circumstances? It depends on the frequency of conversation.
There can be a net good from like these conversations. I think if there's a moderator that represents like the Overton window, or like what actually what's an acceptable yeah, exactly. Aiden Ross is not the moderator for that. But like the thing that I really criticize Jubilee on is just equivocating these positions as like equal standing. Like, oh, they're just having minor disagreements on like eugenics, or they're having minor disagreements on who deserves civil rights in this country. Like, that's not a way to have a productive conversation. And to all y'all's point, it just continues to normalize these positions as legitimate like disagreements. Where if you have like somebody who's actually judging like, no, actually, this is not something that is up for debate, kind of piggybacking on what Chris said, like this has been solved. We're not fighting civil rights anymore. These are issues that we've been able to progress from. Like, this is not a disagreement that we're going to agree with.
Exactly. It's the same
we can say that from like a point in which it hasn't been normalized and it's not impacting people. But as soon as it does impact people, we have to respond to it. You know what I'm saying? So in order to prevent it from happening, we have to respond to it. Right. So like there are circumstances where I think that we would have to address it if it's impacting people. But if it's not impacting people, well, then obviously then you wouldn't want to address it and normalize it, because then it could impact people negatively in the future.
But there are ways to respond, right, without having like that immediate conversation. Right. Like you can make like whatever reaction video or a debunking video or however it is that you're going to use your media platform in order to address those concerns without like having to legitimize that person and bring it to like an equal dialogue. I think the dialogue is what makes it like blood sport debate. Like you can still like criticize these ideas and debunk them without having to have this person on a platform.
Matt, I interrupted Matt. Guys, I have to go back to Matt because I like brutally interrupted him when he was trying to say
it's all good. No. I was just going to finish that. My reason for saying that is because there's a lack of education on the topic, right? We have reports and we have studied that among like young people today, only like 30 to 40% of them know about the Holocaust, as an example. They only know, they only know. And so that's why someone like Nick can like gravitate, because they don't have the basic facts, right? Yeah. Which is why I told Dean, like I said, Dean, I will support you in this. I think you will be fine, but you have to challenge him when he brings up like the Holocaust, because when you do that, you're going to, one, demolish him because he has no facts on his side. But you have to be able to do that because people don't know the basic facts and the basic background. And that is what breeds the hatred, is what breeds that stuff to like come up. So that's why I think, yes, there's a normalization going on, but at the same time, it has to be challenged, because if you don't know the basic facts, then you'll just believe it. Well, that was my point.
That's what I think. I think it's like Mason said it beautifully. It's like you can do that. Like the dialogue is what normalizes it. And again, I'm not trying to shit on you, Dean, because again, I think it's hard. Like I debated it for a long time. Like this is not an easy thing to figure out. But like to Mason's point, it is like the dialogue, and like you see it at such a macro scale, because like obviously Harry and I do like slightly different stuff than some other people in here do, of just like Trump's ability and Republicans' ability to just like normalize the most abhorrent things, desensitize us. And now somebody the other day tweeted out that like Musk was wearing a hat in the Oval Office that was a violation of the Hatch Act, which it was. And like the funniest response was like, a violation of the Hatch Act, dude. We're 50 exits past the Hatch Act. Like Trump has committed 25 impeachable offenses at least. We're looking at like the most corrupt. And 70% of Americans don't even know it. Like they're still learning that like Watergate was the fucking biggest thing, because again, it's just like we always start to like have these debates. They do it. They flood the zone. We all debate it, and then it's normalized. So then next time it comes up, it's like, oh, we're talking. Sorry, Dean.
I think you brought this up, Dean, really well. Like people like Myron and people like Nick are skilled orators, or not even skilled, but they're not even going to respond to rational thought. They're just going to try to dogpile you with slurs or whatever it is to interrupt actual coherent arguments. So I don't even think it's worth like engaging in a dialogue with them. It's just better to kind of criticize from your own platform.
You know, though, Mason, I'm sorry, Dan.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead, Matt.
No. My only point of that would be, I'm not there, if I was debating him, I'm not there to talk to Nick and convince him. Simply, you know, like I just don't care about him. I'm there to I talk to the 14-year-old who is gravitating towards him, who might see his ideas okay, and I want to convince them.
How many 14-year-olds heard Dean spitting facts and then was like, "Oh yeah, actually Dean's gay." Like I'm going to piggyback on what Nick said.
Hopefully,
like,
some thought that Dean was right, and now like on that.
What percent of those? What percent of them would have thought that?
But you also think about like you also think about how we get it out to people. Like so, like I would tend to say that like yeah, you probably shouldn't platform these people, but if Dean were to sit down and make a video and look at the camera and saying the Holocaust was real, we know because of X, Y, and Z. That video is probably not going to get the same reach as a video of Dean going in on Nick Fuentes being like, "You're a fucking idiot. We know the Holocaust was real because of X, Y, and Z." So there has to be about like we could like not platform them and not debate them at all. Will that message get out, and will their message be able to get out more than ours? I think that's a problem.
Well, but the thing is like it would have never, again, like I think back to Mate's point, like I don't think it would have started if, well, again, I'm not familiar with like how Destiny and like relates to Fuentes at all, but just going to like Aiden Ross himself, like if Kick had like any type of fucking policy at all that like we had in every media company ever 8 years ago, then that dude would have never gotten anywhere near Aiden Ross and wouldn't have been platformed. There would have been no 14-year-old who was like, "Oh wait, this is kind of sick." That like
these are not ideas that are swaying the masses. These are ideas that are further radicalizing an extremist part of the internet. Like these are not all of the ideas.
Hold up, Ever. I want Hasan to be able to talk. He tried to talk earlier, and like everyone kind of talked over.
I was going to ask a boomer question. What the fuck is the number above my head?
It's like people are giving you like
gifts. Hasan, you've almost made $200.
So that number above your head is $200.
Yeah.
Bro, why are you guys giving money to a millionaire? What the fuck's wrong with
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Did you just do a money spread on a TikTok?
God.
Stream? Are you serious?
I don't know how to collect this money. I don't know how to. I don't think I get paid off TikTok.
Yeah, bro. We gotta.
Well, you can always take that money and you can like send it somewhere.
You could.
Wait, can I use it on the TikTok shop?
Yeah, you can.
You could use it.
You can actually send it to people. Like if you see someone on your TikTok feed and like you see someone that you like, you can just send them money if like they might need it or something. Like you can convert them into stuff that you can send people.
Like, am I live right now on my TikTok?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
can
know.
see
if
that.
it's-
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
It's not
your
like a
technic-
host,
wait,
but it's
wait,
like they can see the
It's
notification.
like if they scroll past like your video, your profile shows up differently and says you're live.
Oh shit! So wait. Oh, so it doesn't show up on the For You page? Is me?
No, it does do that too. It does do that too. It's just
We're
saying
also-
like
we're
it doesn't
also-
like I don't know. It's like
We're
kinda
also
different.
only on my second account right now, so this isn't even my main TikTok. This is just where I come out to hang out and shoot the shit.
Yeah, Hasan, you could cash those out, donate them to the DNC, and then it's funneled back to Harry and I. So
Yeah.
There you go.
No, but seriously,
Seriously.
you know, if you're just like literally fucking around
Nice,
on
Chris.
TikTok, what you should do is, you know,
I'm hilarious. I'm fucking-
obviously you're like predisposed to an algorithm of like debate content because
Oh,
you
for
were able
one.
to find this. Just go find some like, you know, some leftists that you fuck with that you think are spreading a good message and, you know, show them some love.
Alright.
Bro, this is
Like Chris.
Like, yo, give me the money spread.
Yeah.
Oh, dear God.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'm an old man. It's almost about to be 11 here. But
All right, Hasan, it was a pleasure, bro. Thanks for
Very
popping
nice
in.
to meet you.
One moment. Hassan, it was a pleasure to finally meet you and speak to you in person. You know, I'm gonna finish that content nuke and I'll see if I have any critiques for you, and I'll
All
let
right,
you know
we-
the next
we
time
can
I
go
have a
over
way
it.
and we could
Yeah.
go over it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Peace,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
All right, man. Peace
Nice
out.
meeting you, man.
Please, man.
See you, Hasan.
Yeah, chill.
Does he know how to leave?
Yo, dude, that was
He
crazy.
trying to be like, he said he
That
got all the
was
coins.
crazy
He said he got all the
work.
coins. I'm just saying.
Come on, Chris.
Chris calling Hasan
Bro.
a boomer, like,
Yeah,
called
actually
himself
calling
a
us on a
Chris.
boomer is crazy.
He
That's
called himself a
diabolical.
boomer. He was like,
Yeah,
what
I
are
was
these?
so late to this. Did he
I know,
just,
but
like,
that's
hop in here?
himself, dude.
Yeah.
That's
I just
himself.
want to
That's
say
not
also,
you.
I just want to say also, out of everybody here, it is a miracle of some god out there that I'm even on this live because I'm
Wrong.
like, compared
Come on,
to
Matt, we
all-
love you,
no,
brother.
I'm serious. Compared to all of you,
No.
I'm a fucking no.
No, Matt.
No,
No, Matt. You're the
like,
goat,
Yeah,
brother.
we
You're
love
the
you.
goat,
We love you,
I'm
Matt.
Well, you want to know?
Wrong.
Wrong.
You want to know?
Royalty.
You want to know what was fucking crazy? Is I'm gonna there's 9,000 people in here. I'm gonna tell you all how we even got to the point.
Yeah,
of
this is
having Hasan
actually
up
like
on
an
the live.
insane, like,
So
yeah.
I go live on here because I'm pissed off. And I just had the worst debate of my life
Yeah.
with some random idiot on the main account. I got banned for bullying him. I absolutely bullied his ass. And then I come on here and I just start gossiping, right? I'm bringing up all this TikTok drama. We're talking about the Bop House. We're talking about Astrovan.
Yeah, dude,
but then
Dean-
one of the topics that we get around to
I'm literally
is-
playing Fortnite on
yeah,
Twitch.
is Hasan and H3. And I'm like, so I was reacting to this content nuke, right? And next thing I know, everybody thinks I hate Hasan and love Ethan. and then I see people in the chat and they're like, Hasan's in here. And I'm like, you guys are tripping. I check the queue and then Hasan's at the top.
You can
Dude,
summon
bring him
him.
up.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, dude, we were literally, it was like 2.5K people, and Dean and I, like, Dean was talking about like Sophie Rain, the Bop House, and then we started talking about Bad Baby, and then we were like discussing in detail like the Daniel Larson lore, and then for like literally 30 seconds you start talking about the Hasan stuff, and then he's just like, here.
Yeah.
Shit, it's so crazy.
You guys summoned him.
That's
Yeah,
right.
basically.
Real.
That,
Okay.
that was cool. That was cool. It was cool to meet him.
I see that GoodTrouble's in here. GoodTrouble.
GT.
I want to bring. I gotta tell GT real quick.
Yeah, I gotta
Because
leave.
I'm about to hop off for the night. It's been a long
Yeah.
day.
This is bullshit.
GT.
What's up, GT?
This is fucking bullshit. I had 2,200 people there like, go talk to Hasan. Hasan follows you. Go talk to Hasan. I'm like, word. I'm gonna go. He's like, I'm old. Bye. I'm like, I'm old, motherfucker. What the fuck? Get back. Sucks. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm sorry, man.
No. I came in as he was leaving. I came in as he was like turning off, and I think hearing the lead up to this is so fucking funny. And like the way that happened is so
dude,
great.
It was
I
like,
think that's
like
That's
Dean,
exactly
Dean
how
and
it
I, dude, it was literally like in depth. Dean knows fucking everything about like the Bop House, Sophie Rain,
Dude,
like
he
the
literally
this
everything.
guy knows like every detail. I'm like,
you know
Dean,
that?
where the fuck? This is such jobless activities. Like, why do you know this shit?
No,
dude?
bro.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
get a
what are you
job,
talking-
bro.
And so I'm like,
No,
I'm like sitting there
because
just like,
something needs to be done about it.
Yeah,
Okay?
what is
Something
the
needs
Bop
to be
House?
done about. You guys are
is
looking
it?
at me like I'm crazy, but no, this shit is actually important, and something needs to be
for
done
the record,
about
the
it,
drama
you know?
right now is important. I didn't know about that.
Wait, what
It's
is
like,
the Bop House?
Okay, dude, it's like Sophie Rain.
Thank
You know,
you,
like
Harry,
it's
thank
several.
you.
It's a Bop House is like a house of like several, I believe, OnlyFans creators, Sophie Rain, etc. Objectively attractive human beings that are all women, and then very recently they like got somebody and made videos with her who was 17 years old.
Oh, no.
And it was like horrible, and they started defending it, and like there's something about it. So it actually agree with Dean. It was important to talk about.
I was gonna make a joke about Harry not knowing what the Bop House like. Sure, dude. Sure. And then then we talk about something serious. I'm like, oh fuck, shit.
Harry
Okay.
subscribed to something
Yeah.
right
Okay. Okay, Harry.
What? Y'all playing, man. Y'all playing.
No, but for the record, Dean, it was important. I didn't know about that drama. It is really fucked up that they involved a minor. But then furthermore, we were talking about like Bad Baby dropping fucking diss tracks, and we were talking about Daniel fucking
You were
Like Bad Baby from Dr.
Bad
Phil?
Baby.
Bro,
Yeah,
listen,
yes.
listen.
She has bars. I was really surprised about that.
Alabama, okay, listen, Alabama, all right, complete total L,
Bro,
Bad
she's
Baby.
wait, hold on, bro. She's
Took
had
the
bars
W.
since fucking 2016. Hold up.
Yeah.
Oh, that song's fire.
I've only heard the Russian remix of this.
The Russian remix.
Yeah, the fucking. Never mind. That's chronically online shit.
What side of the internet you on, man? What the hell are you doing?
You've heard it. No, listen.
No,
don't shut
I
up.
gotta-
You've heard this when they do like the.
What?
They go like what you like Instagram versus reality, and they cut to the Russian remix of this.
Dude, GT, what do you?
GT,
what,
I don't know, man. You
what
might be on your
Instagram
own side of the
reels are
internet
you
here,
on?
bro.
What Instagram reels you on, big dog?
I'm too old for this shit.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, but get this
Too old.
fucking boomer out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
You see that on Facebook, Grandpa?
Yeah, I got a Facebook message to come over here, and I was like, "Hi, Hasan." Wait, listen for a second. Hasan going, "Am I live on my TikTok right now?" I was like, "God damn, dude." Sometimes I'm bad. I'm like, "How do I flip my camera?" And then to hear that makes me feel so good.
Dude, I actually that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
dude.
my mom would ask that
was-
same question if she was.
Yeah, my mom would.
Wait a second. How do I?
No, but on a real note, I do think that was like really symbolically cool because, and the reason I say that is there's a niche on TikTok that probably involves all 7.7 thousand of you guys of political based content and debate and like getting people to be better, right? And this niche, like 3 years ago, was non-fucking existent. Parker starts in it, couple hundred viewers. Rest is history. Here we are. You know, we have a lot of people that come on here and have a lot of individuals involved to advocate for the good, to try to get our society to change. And like this was like the apex. Tonight was like the convergence of like this very new thing that only exists on TikTok, and like the legacy modernized outreach to young Americans for like the vocalization of more progressive beliefs, you know, by bringing Hasan on here. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know what I mean? It shows.
Jesus,
that
Dean, you're
doing
prolific
something.
with the speech, man. I guess a round of applause here. That was good. Woo!
It's
I like it.
oratory.
I like context. Context is great, dude.
No, you guys are laughing at me.
I'm not.
guys
I was trying to be genuine. Damn, I can't say anything without sounding fucking like a sarcastic asshole. That's my
I
bad.
sounded like a sarcastic asshole. and I
That's
wasn't
my
being
bad, dude.
sarcastic. I wasn't being, no.
I appreciate you. And yeah, you guys are fucking rock stars. And I'm glad. What's fucking crazy is that like this dude casually opening his TikTok can make so many people's nights just by like popping in. That's fucking weird. That's crazy. That's really funny and cool. And it's cool to see him.
I wish that, you know, maybe we could do it again and just get like more people involved. Though.
Dude, I'm telling what I want. You know what I was thinking about? I want like everybody in this panel plus Hasan, and then I want to be able to like add like Liam.
No,
Let me show you my world, Hasan.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
like,
just
no,
let
I'm,
one mag at a time.
I'm so
They have, like,
sorry.
12 of us at once.
This is just like the demographic up here. I feel like. We could
What do you
probably-
mean?
Yeah, what do you mean, Dean?
What do you mean?
Dean? Dean, what are you talking about?
Just like.
Just-
Come on,
yeah, we need. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. We need some
I
diversity.
think that there's way too many. We could use some more representation, and I'm not even joking. We got
agree.
like what?
No, I mean, I like actually,
No, totally.
I actually,
white men
yeah,
up here.
I actually had this conversation with another fairly large content creator who I like won't name, but I had this conversation in person who like just like about the idea of like, yeah, it is cool that like running up to the debate, like on one side of the internet, it was like the four like DNC boys or whatever, like Harry Parker, Dean, me, whatever. But like at the same time, we talked about like it's cool, and it is like we're losing like obviously like the straight white men, like the Democrats are getting fucking crushed. They're all becoming like Trumpies. But at the same time, like we really should work on like just this niche of the internet alone, like getting significantly more diversity here because like it's bad.
Well, I don't think the issue is diversity in the niche. I think the issue is diversity in who dominates the niche. There is so many
you're right.
black creators. There's so many women. There's so many people of color. There's so many individuals that are in minority communities that do act and engage and thrive in the debate niche on TikTok, but not like insofar as where like the dominance of the viewership is.
Right.
And I would like to see that change.
But also, I think,
and I feel like a little bit of that burden falls on.
No, a
creators
lot
like
of that burden
us.
falls on us. Like a lot of it, because again, the reason that like the reason that it doesn't like a core reason our lives do like our debate lives are very popular is because like we are straight white men in the way we look. Like if there's a black creator or a woman doing the same exact things we are, like the just sheer amount of like hate and the different like dynamics. So I do think like a lot of that burden does fall on us.
Yeah. And there's one individual that DM me on Discord that I got to respond to. Athena, if you're in here right now, just know I'm going to respond to that DM. But all right, you guys, it is 11:51 p.m. my time. I got to get off. I told myself that I was going to be off at like 9:30, and here we are, and it's midnight.
Here we are.
Proud of you.
That's
Well,
right.
thanks,
you
Dean, for
boys.
letting us all up, man. We
That's
appreciate
right.
you, bro.
Of
Yeah.
course, bro. Good seeing you, man.
Appreciate it. Have a good one, Errol.
Yeah, appreciate everyone
See ya.
for joining. Peace
Good
out.
seeing everyone.
I appreciate you. Good to see everyone.
Love you
Have a
all.
good night,
Good to see
y'all.
you guys. Be safe.
Peace out, guys. And then
Peace
for
out, y'all.
everybody watching, hey, I just want to go ahead and run this by you all real quick because I do bet there's a handful of people in here that are here because of Hasan and have no fucking clue who I am. So we do daily debate live streams here on TikTok where we talk to 50 to 100 people in like a 4-hour time span that I disagree with politically. And, we try to, host a space that gets people to think a little bit more critically. If you're interested in, kind of following along, see what I do, see what Parker does, or, really any of us, make sure to drop us a follow. Now, of course, this is my second account. I never go live on here. Just look up
I'm
my
not even
name.
on my normal account right now.
Yeah, you're on Matt's account. Just look up my name, Dean Withers, you'll find me. But Parker,
My name,
appreciate
Parker.
you for
Get a
joining.
job. Love y'all.
Peace out, Parker.
Good night,
And
y'all.
for the remainder of the 6.8 thousand people in here, appreciate love you all for popping by. I'm gonna go and hop off for the night. Have a good one, y'all.